Hello friends and viewers, and welcome to my pre-release character analysis for Ayishah, Guard of the Princess. For my usual disclaimer, this is not a character guide, this is a preliminary analysis of Ayishah's characteristics and skills prior to her global release. My goal is to help you understand what Ayishah will bring to Sword of Convallaria's current character roster. The information presented here is prone to being wrong. Anyone smarter and with more experience than me can correct me. Starting with the basics, Ayishah is a sword-wielding defender. After Flavia, she is the second defender capable of dealing magical damage via her trait. She has a base speed of 222, placing her turned between Flavia and Coco among defenders. Ayishah joins the roster with the third highest base magical defense after Flavia and Layla respectively, though she has the lowest base physical defense among all legendary defenders. However, among all legendary defenders, she ties with Layla for the highest base physical attack. Ayishah is a member of the Iria and Fortitude categories, benefiting from Dentalian's and Magnus's leaders' auras. She brings her own new Fortitude aura as well. Ayishah's trait is Bright Moon. This grants a passive increase to her attack and defense. 25 to 40% depending on star level of Ayishah's physical and magical defense is added to her physical attack. This makes defense a throughput stat secondary to physical attack. All physical damage dealt is considered magical damage, scaling with physical attack. At the start of battle, Ayishah will gain the active skill Moon's Caress on her action bar. Moon's Caress is an instant skill that grants one ally the Pledge buff and on duty on Ayishah herself. Pledge increases damage and reduces damage taken by 10 to 20% depending on star level. If the character with Pledge takes fatal damage, they will trigger Resolve, recover 5% HP, switch positions with Ayishah, and both units will recover an additional 50% HP. This can be triggered once per battle. On Duty increases damage and reduces damage taken by 10 to 20% for Ayishah, depending on star level as well. At the end or start of Ayishah's turn, if there are allies with Pledge within 3 tiles of her, she will gain On Duty. At the end of Ayishah's turn, when having On Duty, she will dispel 2 debuffs from herself and her ally with Pledge and heal them for 80% of her physical attack and restore 1 energy. Here is a table detailing Ayishah's growth at each star level. Notably, she has the most impressive gains at star level 5. Her initial skill is Leg Slam. This is fine for knockback utility, but will very quickly be succeeded by other energy spenders in her skill tree. At rank 1, your options are Pure Radiance or Legacy of Comrades. Pure Radiance, as a 2 energy cost and 0 turn cooldown skill, will immediately replace her Leg Slam initial skill. Pure Radiance deals 130% damage, heals herself and her Pledge target, dispels 1 debuff, and gains an Attack 2 buff. This is a very comfortable and impactful option for early Voyager progression. Legacy of Comrades is best used in compositions with summon allies, such as Akambe and Sathya. Otherwise, not only are the buffs from this ability unlikely to make up for one team member dying, the buffs are also redundant when you have more sources of level 2 attribute buffs. However, Pure Radiance may still be succeeded by other energy spenders in Ayishah's skill tree. Recall that defense is a throughput stat for Ayishah, so it will be reasonable to pick Legacy of Comrades solely for the defense stat gain. At rank 3, your options are Dawn Moon, Moonrise, and Moonlit Shadow. Dawn Moon Moonrise is an instant skill where you select one location in a cross-shaped range of Ayishah, charging to that location and dealing 60% AoE damage to all targets within a 1-tile radius. If only one enemy is hit, then it will deal 120% damage. The charge of this skill ignores obstacles and can cross gaps. When Ayishah has her on-duty buff, the damage is increased by 30%. Targets hit are inflicted with Vulnerable to and Disarm debuffs. Disarm is a disrupt debuff that prevents the carrier from using basic attacks and class skills and can only use gear skills. The condition to deal 120% damage is to hit only one enemy. This means if Ayishah hits one enemy and multiple objects at the same time, the damage output will still be 120%. When defeating a target, Dawn Moon Moonrise's cooldown is reset and the energy is refunded. This can only be triggered once per round, but can trigger on items and objects. Moonlit Shadow is an instant skill where Ayishah teleports to the selected target within 4 tiles of her. Both the target and herself will gain damage reduction 2 and healing received 2 buffs. Ayishah will also gain defense 2 buffs, and all effects last for 3 turns. Ayishah will gain the Moonlit Shadow buff. With this buff, when Ayishah is healthy, she will share 70% of damage taken with her pledged target. When Ayishah is injured, this buff reduces damage taken by 30% for herself and her pledged target. At the end of Ayishah's turn, she will teleport next to her pledged target. She will also gain the Mighty Counterattack buff. This buff functions identically to the counterattack reaction skill we are familiar with, but instead of 70% strike back damage, Mighty Counterattack deals 100% strike back damage. This can be activated once per round. At rank 5, your options are Counterattack and Shape of Full Moon. Counterattack is the same reaction skill we are familiar with from prior characters, but is a very reasonable option if you intend to build Ayishah for counterattack damage. With Shape of Full Moon, Ayishah will restore HP equal to 50% of her physical and magical defense whenever she is attacked. This can trigger up to 3 times per round. Ayishah will gain the ability to block. In addition to physical attacks, she will be able to block against magical attacks and AoE attacks. She has a 100% chance to trigger block from any direction, and block reduces damage taken by an additional 10%. At rank 7, your options are Dawn Moon and Moonlit Hills. Dawn Moon is a passive skill that increases Ayishah's damage by 30% when she is healthy. After casting active attacks, the cooldown of her class skills is reduced by 1 turn, and this can trigger once per round. Moonlit Hills is a Fortitude leader's aura. For Fortitude allies in battle, their damage taken is reduced by 10% when healthy, and they gain an additional 8% attack and defense on top of the baseline 10% attack and 20% defense increases. At rank 9, your options are Dispelling Strike and Feverish Attack. Dispelling Strike adds the spell utility to Ayishah's basic attacks, and Feverish Attack adds lifesteal. The value of Dispelling Strike may depend on the amount of dispel skills you already have in your character roster. It's reasonable to pick this option for the defense stat increase as well. Feverish Attack can help Ayishah be even more survivable and may pair well in a counterattack build. At rank 11, your options are Dawn Moon Waxing or Lunar Shadow. Dawn Moon Waxing is a 3 energy cost, single target attack that deals a total of 165% damage. When Ayishah has her on-duty buff, the damage is increased by 30%. This is her top single target damaging ability. Lunar Shadow empowers Ayishah's strikebacks. Note that this skill increases strikebacks but does not innately trigger any strikebacks by itself. In other words, one or both of Moonlit Shadow and Counterattack are required to make use of this passive skill. Lunar Shadow allows her to be very capable at counterattacking against enemies. Ayishah's Astral Imprint is Dawn Moon. This weapon provides a passive defense increase. When casting a single target class support skill, both the character and the target gain the Dawn Moon Glow buff. This further increases the defense of the character and their buff target by 15 to 25% depending on star level. When healing a target with Dawn Moon Glow, the target will receive a random level 1 to 2 buff, again depending on star level. This is a strong weapon for Ayishah's skill kit, but it is currently difficult for other units to make use of the weapon's whole package. Mytha may be the only other character who can get some mileage from Dawn Moon. To summarize, Ayishah has a very versatile skill kit. She can be an active damage dealer, be very capable at dealing strikebacks, and strongly provide assisting support to a squishy ally. Recall that through her trait, she uniquely deals magical damage for a defender. Both physical and magical defense become throughput stats to tack onto her high base physical attack. With Dawn Moon Moonrise, Moonlit Shadow, and Pledge, she can also be highly mobile on the battlefield. Her Fortitude leader's aura is also welcome. Whereas Magnus's current leader's aura focuses on damage mitigation, Ayishah's Fortitude leader's aura helps take the damage of Fortitude allies even further. This is my work in progress character guide. You may notice several player preference options because I intend to build Ayishah for active damage. A counterattack build is completely viable, but that depends on your playstyle or Castalia at disposal. Dawn Moon Glow is her best weapon, but Newborn Blade is always a fine option. With the amount of instant skills in her kit, Void Stab can be a competitive option as well. The trinket recommendations here all contribute to her damage, some more than others. For Taros, these may vary based on her weapon, gear, and skill loadouts. That concludes this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on how you plan to build Ayishah. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next one.